Today I've got my hard hat, my safety glasses, because we're about to take 3 of the most common work surfaces and put them to the test. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a scientist or professional mythbuster. Please don't try what you're about to see at home or at work. Let's meet our contenders. First up, wood, and I'm not talking about skids. Real wood, solid wood furniture is durable, heavy, and it can be refinished over and over, but it's also very expensive. We see a lot of work surfaces come through this facility, but most of the time when we see wood, it's veneer like this one. A veneer is about an 1/8 of an inch piece of real wood glued on top of a lower quality piece of wood particle board, or MDF. MDF standing for medium density fiberboard. Contender 2, high pressure laminate, or HPL. Multiple layers of craft and decorative paper are melamine resin treated and then coated with a water resistant overlay. These are then fused together to a particle board, or MDF, with high pressure, usually 1400 PSI. And finally, TFL, thermally fused laminate, also known as low pressure laminate, or TFM, thermally fused melamine. This surface is created by fusing a decorative sheet directly to a particle board, or MDF, using high heat and usually low pressure around 400 PSI. Scenario 1, liquid. It's late and it's been a long day at the office. Your untouched ice water has condensated all over your desk. Somehow you've managed to spill the coffee and knock over your soda. Let's top it all off with a nice heavy pour of Crown Royal whiskey. So for our scenario, we wanted to test spills on work surfaces. So 48 hours ago, we had glasses of ice with overflowing water to mimic that condensation that happens when you leave an icy glass on your work surface. We also purposely spilled some coffee and some soda, regular Coke, and then we spilled some liquor, some whiskey, on the 2 laminates. Now, 24 hours ago, we ran the same test without the liquor, because we didn't want to waste any more good whiskey, on the wood veneer surface. And so this is what we found. This is our high pressure laminate. We had the water here, the coffee here, the soda, and the whiskey, and really very difficult to see any noticeable impact from liquids being on this surface for 48 hours. This is our low pressure laminate, and then the liquids test, we had the water here, the coffee, the soda, and the whiskey. Now actually, if you look at this in the right angle, and it's kind of hard to see, but there is an impact from the water. You can kind of see a little bit of staining, a little bit of warping from where the water sat for 48 hours on this surface, but it is hard to see. It's definitely less noticeable than you'll see on the wood veneer, and if you look across this surface, you're really not seeing a lot of impact from any 4 of those liquids that sat there for 2 days. Now here we have our wood veneer. This is where the water sat, the coffee, and the soda. Now where you're gonna see the most noticeable change is on the water spot. This was only here for 24 hours, and look at that very noticeable impact it had on this wood veneer. It almost looks like it was like milk on there or something. You know, it's kind of actually hard to tell where the other 2 liquids were. They wiped off pretty nicely, but this water really did seem to seep into the wood veneer, and I scrubbed that hard and was not able to get it off. So water certainly will damage wood veneer, no doubt about that. Scenario 2, heat. The deadline is approaching, and it's the 11th hour. You need to save time, so you grab a Hot Pocket. There's no time for plates, so you toss it on your desk and dive back into your work. You never get around to eating because, well, it's a Hot Pocket. And so a steaming hot sleeve of mystery meat sits on your work surface for hours. Will it leave a ring? All right, so here we have our 3 delicious Hot Pockets. Yesterday, about 24 hours ago, we put these through the microwave. They were steaming hot, and we laid them out here directly on the work surfaces. Now they've been on here for about a day. Let's pull them off, and let's see if there's any noticeable impact. For our heat test, the Hot Pocket sat right here, and you can look at that. I can show it to you this way. You really can't see any noticeable change from heat being on here for 24 hours. The heat did not seem to make a difference on the low pressure laminate, just like it wasn't visible on the high pressure laminate. If you look at this, many different angles, you're not seeing an impact from the heat directly sitting on this surface. For the wood veneer, the Hot Pocket sat right here, and if you look closely, you can see a cloudy mark where the heat touched the wood finish directly. We also have a high-end conference table in this facility that came back from a client with a very noticeable cloudy ring on it. So just like we saw with the wood veneer here after the Hot Pocket, this is a large mark, and it was actually caused by the client leaving a pizza box, a hot pizza box, directly on the surface, and that caused that cloudy ring that you see on the wood veneer. So not as much of an issue with the laminates, but certainly an issue if you've got wood veneer. That ring, that mark, you're not able to get out. So we also wanted to test what would happen if you put a really hot bowl or dish on a work surface. And so we heated up 3 coffee pots, boiling hot coffee, straight off the warmer, and we put one on each work surface. Surprisingly, after 10 minutes of being directly on the surface, when we pulled it off, there was no noticeable mark. Now, I'm not guaranteeing you that that won't happen to your work surface, but in our tests, those were the findings. Scenario 3, the wipe down. You're a rebel who operates outside the lines. That's why you spilled 4 drinks all over your desk and also managed to cover it in permanent marker scribblings. So for this scenario, we've got all of our spills that we have from 48 hours ago and 24 hours ago. And we also took a Sharpie permanent marker and created a line on each of the surfaces. And we're gonna test how will these clean off. Now, with all of these surfaces, you really don't want to use anything more than just a little bit of water to clean them, potentially a light mixture with some dish soap in there, and that's fine for the veneers. On the wood though, any water is going to potentially damage a wood veneer. So we're going to use water in this scenario, but that's one of the downsides of wood, is that you really can't get it wet without potentially harming the finish. We're going to take water and a paper towel and try to clean this permanent marker off of first our high pressure laminate. And I might be here for about 4 years. No luck. Let's see if we have better results with our low pressure laminate. My guess is we won't. Nothing. It's not even barely coming off on the paper towel. So far, wood has not held up in the liquid test or the heat test. Will permanent marker clean off of wood better than it did on the laminates? No, it will not. Shout out to Sharpie for making phenomenal permanent markers. Let me see if I can find something more extreme. Now this I definitely don't recommend for your work surfaces, but we're gonna try something just for the fun of testing. Goof Off, ultra strong, ultra flammable, probably ultra poisonous. And we'll see if this, Goof Off for the win. Okay, here we go. Our low pressure laminate, Goof Off part 2. All gone, also my hands are melting. And, ooh, the wood takes a little longer to wipe down, but we got it off. So Goof Off did the job. I don't think that this is recommended for finishes though. So again, don't try this at work, but if you're in a bind, there may be a solution. So in the time that it took me to wash my hands, the Goof Off had a noticeable impact here on the wood veneer. You can see this big white mark where I used to wipe the marker off. Now we didn't see anything like that yet on the laminate, but if you want to trade a big white spot for your Sharpie marker mark on wood veneer, go with Goof Off. Otherwise, maybe cover it with a sticker. Scenario 4, scratching. You have keys, you have a desk. So this test is pretty simple. We're just gonna take keys and we're gonna see which one of these scratches the easiest and which one is the most scratch resistant. So we'll start just by doing a simple drag the key across the surface. No real noticeable damage there, a little bit of a mark. Here's the LPL. Again, a little mark, not much to see. And then the wood. Oh, certainly the wood loses again because there's a noticeable divot in this wood where I scratched the key across. Now I'm gonna go a little harder. This is if someone really dislikes you and keys your desk. I mean, I had to dig hard for that. Let's go on the LPL. Might be a color thing, but it actually shows, it actually was harder to scratch this. And then, of course, I mean, I'm carving wood now. Scratch result tests, HPL was pretty scratch resistant when I was just doing this. I had to dig pretty deep and I had to get a really sharp part of my key. In fact, I'm even having a hard time replicating this. I mean, I'm going at it here and you're not seeing much. This was when I put a lot of pressure down and actually dug in with the key. You got this line and that's not coming out. I think color is gonna make a difference here too, because if we look at the LPL, I applied about the same amount of pressure to this and you can't see that scratch mark. I think it's because of the color. I mean, I'm digging hard in here and that's not scratching. So laminate is definitely more scratch resistant than is the hardwood. And we'll take a quick look at the hardwood here. I mean, you can see very noticeable scratch marks here, and I don't have to put that much pressure to get really distinct scratches. So I would say even just dragging your key across, picking it up quickly, you're gonna get a scratch, and that stuff's not coming out without sanding it back down. Scenario 5, maximum impact. You're a high energy, spirited individual prone to dropping heavy weights, flipping over your desk, and, well, let's just do this. For our maximum impact test, we're gonna drop this 8-pound weight and this 35-pound weight from about this high on each of our work surfaces to see which one withstands the impact the best. Cue the slow motion. So the results of our maximum impact test were really interesting. The 8-pound weight really didn't make much of a difference. It's probably because it's got a soft coating on it. The only time it actually made an impact was right here, if you can see this. Since it hit the edge of the LPL, or the thermally infused laminate, it created this little crack in the top decorative paper and caused a noticeable divot there. And when we dropped it straight on the center, we didn't really notice much of a mark, but here, I think it hit the corner in the right way and caused the chip. Now that didn't happen on the HPL or the actual wood veneer, but I wanted to show that first. Now where we really started to see a difference is when we dropped the 35-pound weight. Here you see this very noticeable mark here on the thermally fused laminate. Hit it in, and if you look real closely, you can kind of see the particle board and the decorative paper were smashed and started to crack. If we look at the high pressure laminate, as far as the 35-pound weight goes, didn't make much of a difference. You have the same type of impact here. You could argue that it's a little better, but look what it did here on the corner. Look what it did here when it kind of came down. These are, I mean, it's gone through the first couple layers and made a dent into this softer interior particle board or whatever they've used here as the cheaper center. Now, I would say that this is the one test we've done so far where the wood veneer actually held up better than the others. It still made this very noticeable mark. We came down smash right here in the center. It fell onto this, but comparative to the laminates, I think this wood veneer, the hardwood veneer, actually helped with the impact a little bit. Now, no one's gonna want this on their work surface, so don't go dropping 35-pound weights on your desk, but I would say, from my non-scientific point of view, that the wood veneer actually held up better in the high impact test. All right, so for our final part of our maximum impact test, I'm just gonna run these surfaces over with my car. I don't think it's gonna do anything exciting, but who knows? Here we go. I'm happy to report that no damage was caused when I rolled over each of these surfaces with my car. So there you have it. For all you whiskey drinking, hot pocket eating, office weightlifting viewers, now you know what's gonna happen to your work surface if you don't change your ways. For everybody else looking for advice on which work surface is best for your space and your budget, give me a call or visit bos.com/surfaces for details, pros, and cons for all of today's contenders. Thanks for spending time with me today. I hope you learned something new and have a successful week.